Hola, chaps. E003 here, episode 3. It's Friday. It's finally Friday. And I've heard that some of you are a little bit stressed out about all the schoolwork and the environment at home. So, my wife and I put together a few suggestions for stress relievers for you to do, from caring for a plant, doing some photography, or getting deeply involved with different types of software programs that you could play with. So, for a plant, it's been proven that it helps, calm you down and make you feel better. And so here's a couple of videos that we put together regarding that. So the story here is my wife bought this plant as an inspiration for you students to strongly consider doing some gardening. These are flowers, of course, and you could learn about which kind they are, how to take care of them after they blossom, and what to do with them. Do you want to plant these in the ground or leave them in the pot? Gardening is wonderfully relaxing and it connects you with nature. So strongly think about doing something like that. I took a camera, set it on a tripod, and then tried to do a time lapse showing the flower changing over time. So here's one of the first pictures I took, and then a day or two later, this picture, then this one, now this one. So yes, you can kind of make out that the flowers are opening over time, but look how difficult it is to notice the change from one picture to the next. And that's because the camera isn't exactly the same place, but mostly the lighting has changed so much from day to day. So make an effort to take a picture with the camera fixed and the lighting the same conditions each day. And I'm sure you guys will have much better results than what I just shared with you here. We're in our backyard. One of the ideas Linda had was that you should get yourself a plant and care for it while you're at home. So, for my sake, she bought me a tomato plant. And sitting next to it is a beaker of bleach, about 225 milliliters of bleach from the chemistry course. What we have here is a pot, and I'm going to turn it over and let Linda tell you about her project to put that tomato plant into this pot.
Okay, so first of all, the pot was absolutely filthy because it had other things growing in it. So I scrubbed it out and rinsed it out and used the hose on the jet to clean it all out. But before I can actually put dirt in there or do anything else, I now need to use bleach to clean any bacteria that was left over from the previous plant. And that's really important if you want a healthy plant or whatever, flowers, plants, whatever you're growing. If you want it to be healthy, clean the pot with bleach.
So what's the overall project plan?
The overall project is, this is an early girl tomato for Phil. I can't actually eat tomatoes. I love tomatoes, but I can't eat them. So it is to get it growing in here, and I will provide a trellis for it to grow on so that the early girl tomatoes will just ripen and have a place to hang, and they'll be supported during their whole entire growth.
And I think there's a bunch of steps you have to go through.
Exactly. So the first thing you do, so take a look inside here. So I've cleaned it out. There was a lot of garbage, not just dirt and roots around it, so that I've cleaned out. Okay, so I've done that. But before I can do anything else, next I'm going to put the bleach, rinse that out, and then I'm going to fill each of these, take a little rock or pebble or a piece of broken clay pot and put it over each of the holes so that the garden soil or potting mix does not flow out as you water the plant.
And then a layer on top of that?
Then put the soil on top of that, get it to a height where you want to put your plant, and once it's at the right height, finish putting the dirt around it. You might want to water it a little bit to compact the dirt. If it needs to be higher, make that adjustment before you do the final thing.
All right, so there's the project in a nutshell to start growing some healthy food in your backyard or front yard.
Right.
Go.
All right, so I'm going to create pot shards from a broken piece of pot that I have here because I need smaller pieces than this. So let's see what happens. One more time. Yes. Okay. So now that I have plant shards, I want to go ahead and get started with the bleach. And I've put gloves on because some people are very sensitive, and of course bleach will stain your clothes white. Actually, they'll bleach out all the color in it. And so now what I'm going to do is just go like this all the way around the edge. Just kind of rotate it, clean it out. Oops, I'm not getting enough there. There we go. Oops, I don't want it to go out of the pot. Okay, I want to try to contain it. Okay, oops. Okay, now I'm going to pour a little bit into the bottom. You can still see the holes. And now for my pot shards, I'm going to actually go ahead and bleach those as well. Let's go like this. I have just the right amount of pot shards. That is amazing. Let's try and drain. Actually, what I'm going to do actually is finish draining the bleach. Then I'll put the pot shards back in place. Alright, so now I'm actually leveling a spot where I'm going to put the pot, because the pot will be really heavy and I don't want to have to lift it after I've got it filled with dirt or garden soil or potting mix and water. Okay, cool. So now I have little feet to hold my pot above the ground, because I don't want ants or other insects to make a home in my pot that's for my tomato. So now I've put spaced these little chalk things around it in equal amounts. There's 3 of them, and I have my pot ready to go, and I'm going to add part of the first bag of potting mix. So potting mix is different than garden soil. I'm not planting in the ground, I'm planting in a pot. So I want to use potting mix in my pot. So here it goes. That's the first little bit. And now I'm going to go get the other bag. Alright, so I always need more soil. I need more. Anyway, make sure you clump up or unclump all the pieces of potting mix so it's all uniform, not big large clumps and things. And now I'm ready for my tomato plant. Okay, now I'm ready to put the plant in. The plant's a little dry. It's just a little dry anyway. All right, so I'm going to loosen the roots here. And I'm going to dig a little hole in the middle. And then I'm going to add more soil all the way around. And then I'm going to unclump them as well. And smooth it all out. And before I water, now I'm ready to put the tomato cage on it. And Phil gets to decide if he wants blue or green.
Blue.
Okay. So now I'm ready to put the cage over it that will help support it as the tomato plant grows. And will hold the early girls up in place. I just want to get the legs spread out evenly, make sure it's sort of in the middle, and then squish it all the way down as far as you can go. Now I'm ready to water. In this case, I don't want to use a hard jet, I just want to use a shower. So for the first time, I want to actually get enough water into it without overdoing it. I know it's going to be raining later today, so I probably will not water it as thoroughly as I would otherwise if it was like a warm spring day. I have one other thing to show you. So now I have a moisture meter here. You can use this for plants that are in pots only. You never use this for plants that are in the ground. If you don't have one, you don't need to worry about it. All you're going to do is actually check to see if it needs watering a couple times a week. This looks like it's clearly wet and watered, so I'm not going to add any more water at this time. It's fine.
Of course, I'm big into astrophotography, but really, you could do time-lapse photography of anything of interest to you, the clouds moving across the sky, plants growing, stars going across the sky, the motion of the moon from one day to the other. There's plenty that you could do for fun in this regard. Even yourself growing over time. Finally, I want to at least make you aware of these software programs. I don't really know how well they work. They seem to be promising. They seem to be somewhat complicated to really get into it. But maybe that's what you should be looking at right now. Something that can take your mind off of something where you can deeply get involved with it. And truthfully, there's a little bit of math hidden in the idea that if you have a three-dimensional object and you want it to move 1 meter in the x direction, well, then you need to know which direction is the x direction. And if this is an ad on YouTube for Daz Studio. It's freeware, but you'd have to pay for basically every item that you see. So you buy a person, you buy their clothing, you buy their hair, you buy their textures. So don't do this unless you have the financial support and blessing of your family. But it is a way to learn about 3D modeling, rendering, animation. So it's something that you could play with that's extremely time consuming. So these three programs actually are interconnected to each other. If you were to get a character in DAW Studio, you could use Mimic Lite or some equivalent program, I think, to have the character speak and have their facial motions match the speech that you put into it. And Bryce is also compatible with these characters. So you create a character in Studio, you animate it, you give it some speech, and then you could actually transfer that into Bryce, which is a software program optimized for uh, external environments, landscapes. So take a look on YouTube, search these things up. It used to be freeware for all of this stuff. The problem being, of course, that you have to pay for specific items that you buy. Again, don't do it unless you have your family's blessing and you have the desire to do this. It's just a way of giving you some deep way of playing at home when you finally have time to relax.